What's up, everybody? It's your boy JR Lee, and I'm back for another special episode of the Fly on the Wall show. Today is episode 53, and I can't believe I made it to 53. I still remember episode 1, still trying to struggle to get it out, and then 2 and 3, but now we're here for episode 53, and I got the legendary Mario. Well, I can't even just say your name. I got the two-time Emmy Award-winning Mario Armstrong. And Mario, for the people who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please, sir?
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, absolutely. 53, man. That's congrats. Like,
thank you so much.
That's it, people. Y'all gotta do it without like any hesitation. Like, just get started. Like look at his example. Just start. Everybody's out here trying to be perfect and they're trying to shine so well, but everybody doesn't realize, like, in order to get to that point, first off, perfection doesn't even exist. But secondly, like, we all, it's funny. We can evolve as humans and we know that we need to work on ourselves and we know that we're never perfect, but we expect our products or our podcasts or our services to be perfect. It's like, nah, just launch that thing. Like, get it out there, because once you put that energy out, you're going to connect to other people that want to connect with you. And that's how other opportunities start to happen. But my background real quick, Baltimore raised, entrepreneur. We got 2 companies now, Mario Armstrong Media, Never Settle Productions. We also just launched Never Settle Academy, which is our new academy to help people get brand sponsorship deals so that they could start to understand how to generate revenue for their businesses or their ideas, maybe their content, maybe their events, and be able to understand how to pitch a brand in order to access those funds. So we have a few different things that are going on. It's all rooted in helping entrepreneurs and creators learn from our lessons, building our business, and really sharing that insight and advice from not only myself, but then from other people that I've had the benefit or the pleasure of being around. So I've been on a lot of stages. I'm also a Today Show contributor on NBC. I also got my own podcast. And of course, you mentioned the show that we've created ourselves called The Never Settle Show, which ended up winning a couple of Emmys for. So I'm glad to be here, man. But I'm definitely a story of not going a linear path. Like, I didn't graduate from college, went to college, but things happened, didn't graduate from college, was a C+ student in high school, and still was able to find a lane and to really uncover my purpose and figure out, like, the system, strategy, and the tactics and the ethics in order to try to become successful in that space.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's such a powerful story, man. Everything that you're doing is so amazing. I want to kind of just start from the beginning a little bit. You said that you went to college, but you did not graduate from college.
No, I didn't, man. And I barely got in by the skin of my teeth, but I went to an HBCU, which is West Virginia State College. And so I went there. Everything was going great, by the way. And it was my first time ever in history that I was actually having grades that I was proud of.
Yeah.
like B and B+ and some A's on the report card. And I'll never forget, talking to my mom after that first semester. And she was just so proud because she ain't never really seen report cards from me like that. So I said, Mom, it's because I know what I want to do. And I was taking communications. So now that I had a purpose, history didn't connect with me. Science didn't connect with me. It wasn't purposeful to me. Had they had entrepreneurship and maybe communications in high school, I probably would have been an A or B student because it would have been relevant to me. So it didn't work out that way. I didn't have the discipline or the maturity to be able to figure out how to still get good grades for stuff that didn't seem to, like, connect to me. So I just got by. But when I got to college and I recognized something that really connected to me, I wanted to excel at it. I wanted to be great at it. And so that's when, I really started pushing. And in that same, and I got to say that my parents were always of that ethics. Like, I always watched my parents hustle. I always watched them pursue what it was they wanted to go after. I saw the ambition. So I knew what it was like to chase something, or I knew what it was like to go after something. I also knew what it was like to just skate by for something I don't really care about. And so I think in the high school scenario, I was like skating by, but in college, I was like, oh, that's something I want to go after. What do I need to do to be great at it? Oh, I got to hit these books. I got to do this research. I got to do the studying. Okay, I'm not playing around. But what happened in that first semester went by great, came back the second semester and went to a couple of off-campus parties, maybe in the first semester and then the second semester. And long story short, a really tough neighborhood dude that lived in that neighborhood, didn't go to that campus,
Didn't even go to school. Okay.
didn't even go to school, decided that I was going to be his target. And you got to, I mean, I'm 5'7", I'm thin, I got curly hair. I'm in your neck of the woods. I'm 6 hours away from home. Because I'll never forget the first question he asked me. He goes, "So where you from?" And I'm like, I don't even know why this dude is asking me this question. I said, "From Baltimore." And he was like, "That's a long way from here, isn't it?" And I'm like, so the red flags, like being from Baltimore, I know it, but the red flags was already up. Like I was already ready to scrap for, and I'm like, what's going on? So it escalated, and it got to the point where, you know, he would come on campus and he would find me, whether it was in my dorm or on an on-campus party, and it would be like instant fireworks. Like, and he
just started stalking
me, and just making me an example.
Well, why you though?
I get easy target. I was an easy target, someone easy to pick on. I'm thin, I'm frail, pretty boy, don't look like I can fight, you know, or any of that. So I'm a
bully.
Yeah, easy target. And he literally had like a gang of like him and like 5 goons. And it wasn't until like I pledged the second semester as a Kappa that I finally started having some kind of support and some kind of backing, because the Kappas was like, oh, this dude's got a lot built into this little guy. Like this little guy went through a lot to cross over. And so that helped, but didn't help in enough time. And next thing you know, there was like shootouts that were happening. And I literally had one of the Florida boys' guns in my hand at this off-campus party, because I saw where they had stashed the guns, because apparently there was some talk about this local dude was going to come by this campus party that was on an off-campus spot, but it was only a college party, and he was going to shoot it out. And somehow or another, I don't know how these other college students had guns, but they did. They were on the football team. So shout out to all them Florida boys that must have came up from they didn't come up from just Miami. They came up from I forget what other area they were from. But anyway, man, it got to that level of intensity that, you know, my parents found out, and they were just like, "You're on the first plane out of there."
Yeah.
And so, you know, I left there, and so I'm leaving college unexpectedly, got these great grades, trying to get this communications degree. And from that point forward, college never, you know how it's like almost just being moved from like job to job, and then you just, it's just like, it's just not working. And then you find like years later, you land into something and it worked out. Yeah. College just never came back around, man. Never came back around. I went to 2 different colleges. I went to Hampton University for a little bit, and then realized I was too immature to deal with that, because it was just way too much fun. And I was living off campus too much. And I was a Kappa. It was too much.
It was just too much.
Too much. And I just wasn't mature enough. I was too young. And then I went, and then I came back to Baltimore and went to UMBC, and I should have finished there, and I got close, but I didn't finish.
But you didn't finish, man. But you said something very important that I think is very important, that a lot of people got to kind of recognize, is that you weren't really ambitious because you didn't really know what you wanted to do. You didn't have any direction because you haven't found your purpose. But upon going to college, you was able to find your purpose. So it's probably a lot of people out there who feel like they're unmotivated, they're uninspired, lazy, but maybe they just haven't found what it is that they want to do. How does someone find their purpose in your words?
Bro, that's so powerful that you picked up on that insight. Like so powerful, because there are people right now that are listening or watching this, and you're speaking right to them. It's not that they're lazy. It's not that they don't want to do something. It's that they haven't either been forced, you know, maybe they haven't been exposed. Maybe they don't have the resources, or no one's in the family that got a chance to show them something different than what they're just growing up around. And when you're a product of your environment, and you don't get exposure to other environments, it's hard for you to see anything else. And so you're speaking to a lot of people that, and even for those that may have been exposed to things, but it's just like, yeah, I saw this, or I've been to that, but it still just didn't resonate, or I didn't see it as a career path.
Yeah, because you said your parents were kind of motivated. They were, you know, they had goals. So it's just like, this didn't translate for you at that time.
Yeah, right. Because they're goal driven, right? Like I'm seeing them do their thing, but yet it wasn't translating to me. Why? Because I didn't have relevancy. And a lot of people will say, you know, well, that's purpose. Yeah, but it's got to be relevant. So I think the first thing to do to try to help people we have a worksheet on my website. It's free if anybody wants to go get it. All they got to do is go to neversettle.tv/tools, neversettle.tv/tools. And there's one on there there's a few on there that are great, but there's one on there that really helps you identify your passion. And so the first thing you should do is write down the things that you actually like to talk about or like to do. What are those things? So for me, it was like, oh, I like to talk.
Yeah.
Like I like to talk. I genuinely like to connect with people. I like to listen, but I like to talk too.
Yeah.
I like to educate. I like to see the light bulb go off for somebody when I could share to them something that they didn't know, or a process or an app or something that's going to like give them new life or give them, some momentum. So I'm writing down these things and I'm like, okay, now that I can see what it is I'm writing down as the things that I have an interest in, it helps me on paper. It helps me see like, okay, now what careers can those skill sets be really powerful in? What careers do those skill sets have a lot of value in? And so that's how it helped me start to understand, broadcast, television, radio, all of that stuff, public speaking, and just really leveraging. And then the other thing is leveraging the thing, like writing down the thing that you may be the most fearful of, like the thing that you may have been bullied over the most.
How important is fear? I said, how important is fear to you?
It's critical because fear actually, when you leverage fear and you use fear to focus, it's a powerful source. If fear is either going to paralyze you, I mean, look, it's already been scientifically proven when you have fear and you get some kind of feeling that you're afraid of something, it can be stage fright, it can be asking that person out on a date, it could be whatever. You're gonna lock up, you're gonna feel something. You are either going to freeze, or you're going to fight, or you're going to flee. You're gonna run away from it, you're gonna be paralyzed by it, or run to it. So you have these different modes that are naturally going to happen. And this happens to all of us. And the reason why is because in our brain is meant to protect us. So when it comprehends an idea that makes you feel nervous is your nervous system acting based off of what you're telling yourself.
Yes, sir.
So you're informing yourself, oh, that person has a gun, that's dangerous, I'm going to flee. Right? Or I don't have any room to flee, I have to fight. Or I'm just stuck and I just freeze. So all of us go through this process when fear hits, but really fear, as it relates to pursuing your passion, fear is real if somebody's got a gun pointed at you, but it's fake. It's fake if you're like pursuing your passion, because the fear is actually holding you back from the thing that you're going to excel in, but you're dealing with it as if the thing on the other side of that is actually a gun being pointed at you. So because our brain doesn't know the difference is what I'm getting at. So for all of you that feel like, you feel like you don't power through or you can't seem to get around it, it's not your fault. Your brain is trying to make you comfortable. Your brain is trying to get you to safety. So yeah, that if you speak on stage, it's going to make you feel a certain way. So you just rather not do it.
Yeah. That was me for a long time.
But if you go on that stage and you speak and you get past it and then you see the reaction to it, then you realize like, okay, wait a minute, I can tame this beast. So my point is this, number one, when it comes to pursuing your passions, fear kind of is fake, because if you understand that fear is going to seep in because of something that feels uncomfortable, that's all it is. It's uncomfort. And then we start hyperventilating and our palms get sweaty and all this other stuff. But it's because we got uncomfortable.
Your mind is making you do that.
Your mind is making you do it, bro. You hit it.
So it's crazy how powerful the thing is.
So if you can Jedi mind trick it, so the way I Jedi mind trick it is anytime I feel uncomfortable about something, I'm like, oh, this is a growth moment for me. Yeah. So I just flip it. I just go, oh, this is a growth moment for me, because I know that if I'm uncomfortable about it and I go through it, it's going to be something new that I've gained. And the only way we can grow as an individual is when you actually do things that are uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely, man. You know, and just about speaking about being uncomfortable, like every time I get on to speak to a different guest, it doesn't matter if it's someone I know, someone I admire, someone I look up to, someone I really want to have on this show, I'm always nervous, right? I remember speaking to one of my guests, Evan Carmichael, and he was just telling me, even at his level of where he is now, he was nervous right before he spoke to me. It doesn't matter who he speaks to. He has to kind of talk to himself and kind of breathe himself through it and be like, you know what? Why am I afraid? I could do this, right? And so even before this conversation, I had to just take deep breaths. I was like, man, this guy has 2 Emmys. This guy is, you know what I'm saying? He's accomplished all these amazing things. I'm just like, man, I'm just me. But then I have to remind myself, like, you know, this is ease. This is what I do. And so just speaking about fear a little bit.
Yeah, man. I think it's great that you recognize that and lean into it. You know, I try to avoid using, and I teach people to try to avoid using the word nervous anymore.
Yes.
Because ultimately, what were you really? You weren't really nervous. You know, nervous is a label.
I was excited.
Exactly. So next time, say, I'm excited for this interview. Right? It's a different way. Like, I'm excited for this job interview. I'm excited to put this pitch out there. I'm excited to ask this person out on a date. Like, whatever that thing is, flip it. Don't be like, I'm nervous. Because when you say nervous, nobody bold ever said, I'm nervous, and like poke their chest out. It was like, yo, I'm nervous. Like, no one. Like, but when you say I'm excited, your physiological body, it changes its demeanor. You become more confident. You become more strong just by saying that affirmation. So, you know, I don't use the word nervous anymore, man. I say I'm excited. And I use that as a positive to go into something that may be making me feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for that, man. And so you have, Mario, you have this amazing concept that I'm a firm believer in, right? And so you believe in from free to fee. So you believe in doing things for free in order to get what it is that you truly want. And one of those things that you did was you got yourself a free radio show, right? Yeah. Well, not free, it costs, but you were able to get a radio show. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you got that with that concept?
Yeah, because so here you got a guy that didn't graduate from college that wants to be on radio and TV. Well, how the hell am I going to do it?
Yeah,
I don't have the degree now, right? So the normal process would have been like, get your degree, in broadcast and communications. Then you send your resume out to some companies, and they'd be like, oh, okay, we got this fresh dude out of college, communications degree. Okay, grades look good, blah, blah. And then you start, right? And then you get like some low level position, and then you just like kind of work your way up and try to make moves within the industry. But I didn't have that route. So I needed to get a job, number one, but then I needed to be able to figure out how I was going to break into the field. So the jobs that I was being offered at the time were mostly sales related jobs because those were the easiest ones for me to kind of access to get in because I didn't have the degree. And back then, the degree meant, like you can hire people without a degree these days. And it's much easier, you know what I'm saying? But like back then, you had to have that sheet of paper. If you
had to have that sheet of paper, yes, sir.
If you were trying to level up. And so I had to do it on my own. And so this goes for anybody which is relevant to how you fight for your dream today. Even though I did it, a decade ago, it's relevant to how you fight for today. Like the way you fight for today is the same way. I went to a radio station. I said, I'd like to host a radio show. And they said, well, if you wanted to take a half hour, it's going to cost you $800. I think it was $800 either for the week or the month. I can't remember right now. I want to say it was for the month, but it may have been for the week. And I went out and used my sales skills to go and find a sponsor to like cover the costs. But
which kind of ties into what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. Years later, it ties into me like helping people understand how to get money from brands to fund your ideas. Cause I did it, a decade ago. And so you look at that, man. And then once you do it, once you take any action, I don't care what the action is, people, once you take one action, once he decided to do one podcast, he was like, okay, and now I'm gonna do 2. And once he did 2, he's like, all right, now I'm gonna get to 4. And once 4, you get to 6, you get to 8. So like, the action always creates a reaction. But if you don't take any action, nothing's going to just happen. Nothing's going to happen because it's still. So in order for you to create some kind of movement, some type of momentum, some type of reaction, you got to do something. So once I took that step, then I realized, all right, I'm on this little AM station. How do I get to an FM station? And then I used my little AM station, which you could barely hear me on, with a demo, and pitched that to the FM radio station dude and told him I'll work for free. I don't want to get paid. I just want to do my show. And you can even put me on the weekends, put me in a slot that you don't even really care about. Like, just put me in. Here's my demo.
Just need that experience, the opportunity.
And so he did that and put me in. And now I'm on FM radio with not getting paid, but now I have a much bigger reach. Now I'm learning from other people around me. So that's the free to fee, because the end game is I'm going to get paid. You have to believe that you're going to build up the expertise in order to get paid. I didn't have the skill set. So how was I going to acquire the skill set? By asking if I could work for free. Now, granted, I had a job. I had a 9-to-5 while I was doing these free gigs. But those free gigs were for my passion, and the 9-to-5 was paying the bills. But eventually what I wanted to do was be able to not have to do the 9-to-5 and only do my passion. But I knew I needed to build up skills and expertise. So once I did the radio show on FM, then you know what I did next? I went and I was like, yo, I want to do this on TV. Like, I see people on television, on local news. The morning show seems like a good spot for this. If I was to come on and teach people about technology, like every Thursday, and we can call it Tech Tips Thursdays. Went to the radio, went to the TV station, told them I wanted to do it, told them I wanted to do it for free. And it didn't just happen like that, but people were just like really taken aback. Like, you want to do what you're doing on radio for free? And I was like, yeah. Why do I do that? Why did I give myself up? Because I needed that skill set. I needed to be inside of a TV studio and not put another barrier in my way. Yeah, and I need money to do that. Well, we're not hiring.
At that point, were you ever on television before?
No.
So no experience whatsoever. You just knew I got to be on TV.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, we shot like homeboy films. I ran around with my boys, and I was like the only one willing to like interview rappers when they would come to town. So like when a rapper would come to town, I would fake credentials and have, one of my boys who had like one of his parents' cameras or something. I don't even remember where the hell he got the camera from. So I was comfortable being on camera, but I was never in a studio. It's no different than if you was just walking around right now, just shooting with your phone. That's the equivalent of what I was doing.
So how easy do you think it is now that we all have like iPhones and Androids and social media, TikTok, all these different channels? Do you feel like the process is similar to what you had to go through back then, but a little bit more available now?
A little bit is yo, it is so like, okay, on the one side, right? Everybody has access to the same thing that you got.
Right.
So there's going to be more of it. But on the other side, back then or prior to this, it took a lot for you to try to get the kind of resources that you needed. So this is why there's over, 500,000 podcasts on iTunes, because people it's easier to create a podcast than it's ever been. To get a radio show, the way I just explained to you, you had to call up radio stations, find out if you could get on. Like, people had to like bless you. You don't have to do any of that now. If you got something that you want to talk about, you got an audience you want to talk to, or you want to start building, you just need to start doing it. The problem is people don't have the stamina that it actually takes to really stay consistent so that they can stay resilient with the dream. And so we give up on our things too quick because because it is so easy. We're not willing to maybe stay with it as long because it's so easy to get out there.
Man, just to kind of piggyback off of that, right, Mario, man, it's like you said, like, it's so easy now. Like, the idea for this podcast came maybe, I want to say at the beginning of 2019. I didn't start the podcast until COVID, until like June of 2020. Did the first episode on Instagram Live. It was cool. It wouldn't be until a few months later when I moved to Atlanta, had my back against the wall. I knew I wanted to do this thing. episodes 2 through 10, I actually was homeless and I was still getting guests on my show. I was in the hotel room getting guests on my show. But it's just like, I think it's like, it's whether or not that you really want to do something. Like you said, podcast is so accessible, so millions of people started podcasting, but not a lot of them have gone past episodes 3 to 5 because of that disconnect where it's not something they really want. They're not really passionate about that.
Yep. It's the truth, man. I'm sitting here looking at this device, man, and I'm like, this thing, man, is a game changer. Like, we all have examples around us where it's a game changer. I think the challenge for most of us is really getting authentic and real about what it is you want to actually deliver to people.
Right.
Like, don't try to deliver what you think people want. Deliver what it is you want. Deliver what it is you're missing. Deliver what it is that you and your friends keep talking about. It's not out there. Like, what are the people in your group chat saying? It's not out there. Like,
Right.
deliver on that, or survey your audience. If you have an audience, survey your audience. Find out, where are they in their life right now? What are the topics that matter to them? What are the issues that they're facing or they're challenged with? Like, you can go off a gut, which is great. You can go off a prayer and gut, which is great. I'd rather you do that than not do anything at all. But if you can also back any of that up with a little bit of data, just by asking your friends or just by asking, other people in the business, what they think, it helps inform you to make those steps, because it's so easy for us to grab the device and do it, but it's so hard for us to stick it out and stick through it. And
Absolutely.
So I think part of it is because I think a lot of people are chasing what they think is what people want. And if instead you kind of dial back from that and just say, what is important to me? There's got to be other people that seem to have an interest in the same thing that's important to me. I just got to find them. They just got to find me.
Absolutely. And you can't settle, man. You never can settle, man. And so never settle. That's the name of your show. You've been able to win an Emmy for that, man. Like, how did that come about? And was the goal always to win an Emmy? How did you start that? How did you get this Emmy? Like, did you have backing? And how were you able to do this?
Oh, yeah. Great questions, man. No backing. So everything from the free to fee that I was doing prior to launching the show, which happened in the last 6 years.
Yes.
Yeah, last 5-6 years, launching the show, was all on hustle. It was all on grind. It was all on doing people right along my journey and building up my credibility along my journey so that I could call in some favors when I needed them. It's like building up that network before you need the network. And part of that is just like doing what you say you're going to do. Like, a lot of y'all could just do what you say you're going to do, like post it, then show us that you actually did it. Yes. Don't just talk about it, but show that you did it. A lot of people want to move in silence, and that's great. But in today's terms, it really, unless you're going to be able to show that to me offline, today's terms, it really helps to let me see that ongoing resume, that ongoing portfolio. And what is that? It's the actions that you're actually taking on the things that you actually care about. So, when we were launching the idea for this show, we didn't have anything to go off. We had the idea. I had the idea. I was like, yo, we need to do a show that's going to help people with their entrepreneurial dreams, get passion and information and advice from people that have already gone through it, that have some level of success. The guests on the show have to have some level of success that the audience respects that enough to want to listen to them. And so we started shopping the show. Well, the first thing we did was came up with the concept. All right, it's going to be an interview show. It's going to be a talk show. We want to have a live studio audience. We want to shoot it in New York City. And we're going to make it like alive. And people are going to be able to communicate in real time. Like, viewers are going to be able to chat in real time. Like, we were going to use Facebook Live for it and all this stuff. So that was the dream. Then I had to get a place because the studios in New York City were costing like $300,000 for a couple of weeks for me to actually rent the studio. And I'm like, yo, we don't, like, what? Like, we don't have that kind of money for a couple of weeks to be able to rent the studio. So I had to get creative. So what did I do? You can't let that stop the train. So what I did was I called a couple of companies that I knew, or actually I went around New York and it was like, okay, I know some tech companies and some of them got these big lobbies.
Ooh.
I was like, yo, I should try to see if I can turn their lobby into a set. All right, that's fine. But why would a company want to do that with you? Oh, because I can mention their product on my show. So that's the trade. The trade is I don't want money from you. I'll give you some airtime if you let me use your lobby and convert your lobby into a studio. And that's exactly what happened. So we had 6 episodes that we were shooting in a New York tech company's lobby. We had like those church basement tin, them church basement tin chairs, them folding chairs.
Absolutely.
That hurt when you sit on them, got no cushions on them. We had those for like 50 guests, 50 to 60 people in studio audience. We had we had nerve to have a red carpet. We had what they call a step and repeat.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, right. So we were celebrating people showing up. We weren't celebrating like the red carpet for our VIP guests. We were like, nah, come here, take pictures, post that up on Instagram, whatever. Like we were making it a social environment, like a happy hour with content. And so then I had to get a sponsor because we still didn't have the money. I got the space now. I got a space, but now I don't have the money. So that's when I started really going hard on using my sales skills from previous stuff that I was doing to convince brands to sponsor an idea. It wasn't even done, y'all. So many of y'all are like, yo, I got to get this thing done and then I can go out. No, you don't. You can get people to buy into your concept, but they got to see what you're capable of in order to believe you can pull off the vision that you have. So I used a lot of my credibility. By that time I was doing stuff I had good street cred because my stuff was visible. Like people could see my receipts. They saw me on the Today Show. They saw me on social media. They saw me grinding. Like people could see, and there was a consistency and integrity to that. But all of that helped when I went to FedEx and FedEx office, and they were like, man, we're trying to reach entrepreneurs right now. I was like, you got to sponsor this show because I can help you do it, and here's how. And so they came on board. Took months to close that deal. Took months. I almost thought we weren't going to get the show because it was taking so long to close the deal. The deal got closed. And that first season, man, we had four crew on camera, 60 people in the studio audience. We had a DJ that would play music to get the crowd hyped up. We had a little wine tasting bar so people could have a little sippy sip before we got started with the show. But man, my directing team was in a broom closet. Like they were literally in the lobby's broom closet, which happened to have a 2-way window, thank God, because that's where a director would like to be. But they were jammed up in that space like this, trying to direct a show. And we ended up winning an Emmy, man, for the show that was like against all odds.
In that first year, that first season was when you won.
The first season.
Wow, that's a testimony right there. Something
the
that
non-perfect looking season.
Man, but what I really got from that, man, was being able to kind of leverage. You document. First of all, your process was documented. You were able to leverage your platform and your tenacity and your hustle to be able to get a company to let you use your lobby as a studio and then get sponsorship for that. So that kind of ties into what I want to talk about now, man. What is it that you do with Never Settle University? I want to say this.
Yeah, the Academy. Yeah, Never Settle Academy.
Sorry,
yeah.
Never Settle
no, Academy. It's all good. Yeah, the Academy.
Now.
The Academy is incredible, man. Right now the goal is to teach as many people as possible how they can actually get brands to fund their ideas, to give them money for their concepts. It's just another source. A lot of times we go to family and friends. A lot of times we will go to our savings or credit card, or we, even some of us want to try to get venture capital money and get investors to be involved. And those money sources are fine, but I like this other one that a lot of people don't talk about because they just don't have exposure to it. And that is getting revenue from brands in sponsorships because you don't pay the money back. They don't get equity in your business. You do have work that you're going to have to do. You got stuff that you need to try to accomplish for the brand. But beyond that, that's pretty much it. So once you learn the language of like, how do I present myself? What what do I have as value to offer to a brand? And I think a lot of people don't think they have, especially small people with small followings, which has really changed the game now, because brands, 75% of brands are spending money on micro influencers. So these are people that have 10,000 or less followers. So why are brands spending money on those people? Because they know that the engagement is higher. They know that even though you may have a smaller audience, more of your people are actually listening. More of your people are actually commenting. And so the challenge for brands is to try to find people that are micro influencers, but that are seasoned, that understand, like, here's how you approach me as a brand. Oh, okay, you're talking my language because you must have been trained or you must have done this before. Like, you know how to talk to a brand, then they know how to talk back to you. That raises your value. It raises the opportunities. But ultimately, you know, brand sponsorship is a revenue generating source for a lot of people right now if they know about it. So our goal is to teach people about how to make a pitch, how to present effectively, how to deal with objections when someone tells you no or they aren't clear, how to make sure that your pitches are done in the right way. Like a big red flag is like anybody that's doing events or any pitch for that matter, never include pricing in the pitch. Too many people will send out an email with their idea and they think their idea is great, and it probably is, but they send it with pricing. And so one or two things is going to happen. One, the person receiving it's going to be like, oh, damn, you sent me pricing without even talking to me to find out like what my interests are and what my priorities are. Or two, you sent me something and you priced this thing at 2,500 and I was willing to pay 15 grand for what you just put down for 2,500. But I'll never tell you that because you just told me this thing costs 2,500. So we end up shooting ourselves in the foot, leaving a lot of money on the table because we don't think we have value. We don't think we have a big enough audience, and we don't really understand how to pitch properly.
Wow. And so, first of all, that is amazing. I know you've been able to work with brands such as FedEx. You mentioned they ended up sponsoring your first show. What other brands have you worked with that you've been able to lock in that you'll show other people how to do the same for their brands?
Oh man, Capital One, Wix. I'm wearing it right now. Zenny eyewear, like all. I mean, even in the backdrop, you can see the Zenny's display right here with all these different glasses that you can get by going to zenni.com, zenni.com. So yeah, man. I mean, these are all brands. AT&T, Roku. All of these are brands that, because once you learn how to do it once, it's a repeatable cycle. Like once you learn how to like pitch yourself and like package yourself together, because that's really what it's about. It's about like, how do you package yourself and then how do you present yourself? So you get those two things down on lock in a way, and whether you learn it from me or anybody that's just learn it from somebody that's doing it, that knows what it's like to pitch and be told no. This is based off of 10 years of pitching and tweaking and really finding out what works and what doesn't work. This is why I teach people that you got to do a lot of, if one of you want a nice gem right out the gate, is don't even send the pitch. Like just send who you are. Like send a bio about you, about your credibility, about what you've accomplished, about where you're going, about what you've done. Just send a bio about you and ask for a 12-minute discovery call. And a discovery call just is an informal way for saying, hey, I would like to have a call with you just to learn more about your priorities. When you tell that to a brand and they pick up, then they say, okay, let's have this 12-minute call. First off, 12 minutes, because you don't say 5 or 10, because nobody ever does anything in 5 or 10 anymore. And even if you say 5 or 10, it ends up running longer than 5 or 10. So we've bastardized, the words 5 or 10. We've abused those words and that timing. So when you say something like 12 or 11 or 13 minutes, it catches their attention like, oh, this is different. And then you hold yourself to that. I only have 12 minutes with you on the phone. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions about your priorities, because we're working on some stuff that I think would really fit well with you guys, but I need to learn more about what it is that are priorities to you. And then I teach you what questions to ask. You get those answers, and then you're going back to them with customized answers now with your pitch, but now it's customized. Here's what you told me in the meeting. It was so great that we met last week. Here's what we put together based off of your answers. So it's a much more accelerated, foolproof, higher conversion rate for you to get those deals when you have a process in place, as opposed to just like, yo, let me try to just tag them in this post and hope that they like see me, you know, or let me just like DM them and hope they reply. Like I teach you DM strategies, but it ain't that one. it ain't the pray, you know, spray and pray method. You know, it's much more targeted and focused.
Absolutely, man. And so for the creative entrepreneur influencer that wants to take advantage of your program and your course, how can they access that?
Just go to neversettleacademy.com. Neversettleacademy.com. I'm always doing free webinars too. So check out, you know, me on Instagram talking about that, or go to my link tree on my IG page and you can just sign up for the free webinar. The webinar gives you a lot. It's not just going to talk to you about the course. We actually give you the 4 things that brands need in order for you to get a deal. It's just that the course is really meant for people that want to go deeper.
Absolutely, man. I just got one more question for you, Mario. Thank you so much for your time. Mario, one of the questions I like to ask all my guests when they come on this show is, what is their definition of success? Now, success can vary depending on where you are in your life. It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could just be family, right? What's Mario's definition of success?
That's a great question, man, because to me, my definition of success is harmony.
Yes.
Harmony within myself, harmony with my family, my wife, my son, harmony with my customers and my business, my content. Like, to me, success is when I feel that I'm harmonious with all the stuff that's going on in my life.
Yes, sir.
It's not, you know, and I like things, you know, let's not get it confused. Like I like things. I like to be comfortable. I like to be able to help other people. When I have access to things, I like to be able to share that access to things. So, but those things don't define me more than me being able to try to find success within myself. I find like the hardest thing for someone like me that's super ambitious, that seeks certain milestones, and when you don't necessarily hit them or haven't hit those other milestones yet, how you can still find a level of happiness within yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yo, that's like, and I'm not suggesting that's easy.
I'm
just saying that's massive success right there.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's more important to me because I feel like if you are harmonious in how you move in your relationships, in your business, in your passions, if you're harmonious in how you move and you're intentional in terms of like not only being a good human, but also like intentional about making impact, but also making income. Like a lot of people want to make impact, but they're afraid to say, I want to make money doing it. It's like, no, the two can go together. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's only if you're just chasing money for the sake of chasing money, that's a different energy and a different intention. And I just don't want that particular intention. I want to be able to chase impact, but I also want to get paid the value for the impact that I'm delivering.
So did you read the book Power of Intention?
What's that?
Did you read the book Power of Intention?
No, man, I've been hearing about it too. Should I be reading that one? I haven't read that one yet.
It's a great book, man. Dr. Wayne Dwyer. I think you'd really, I know you talk about intention a lot, so Power of Intention would be a great read for you, man.
All right, I'm gonna put that on the list, man, because you're like the third person that was just like, hey, have you read? And I was like, no, and I keep like putting it off. I'm gonna go ahead and get it.
Absolutely, man. But Mario, man, I appreciate you for taking the time to speak with me, man. Episode 53 of the Fly on the Wall show. It was an amazing conversation.
Man.
Thank you for your time and energy, man.
Yo, episode 53 in the can, Fly on the Wall, man. It's going down. This podcast is on point. If any of y'all ever get a chance to get on this podcast, y'all are blessed to share. And I love his questions. I loved your research that you did. And it all showed up, man, in the professionalism of how you did everything. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here, man. Look, y'all, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Make sure you send a text to a friend. If like something in this episode or any of the other ones like moved you, Like send a text to somebody. Like that's the ultimate thank you for content creators, like to go tell somebody else that this thing helped them so that, you know, he could get more listeners of that can get more impact. So yeah, man, it's just a pleasure to be on with you, man. I really appreciate it. And I think the last thing I would say to people is don't let the options define your objectives. And what I mean by that is when you let the options that are out there for you be the only thing that you make decisions on, you don't get to create your own. And a lot of times the stuff that's being offered out there isn't for us.
Yes, sir.
So we have to create our own option. So always keep in mind, like, what's the objective? What's the goal you want to get to? All right, what are some options that are available to me to get to that? Okay, but don't let those options define the objective. In other words, if some of those options don't work out, don't let that stop you from going after the objective. Create your own. And in some cases, you don't even have to look at the options that are available. Just create your own. But don't let the options define your objectives. So it's just a different way of thinking. Like an easy way to put this into play would be, let's say you want to work for a particular company, but they're not hiring right now. So you don't see an option. Well, if you don't let the options define your objectives, what's your goal? Your goal is you want to work for that company, right? You said you wanted to work for that company. Okay, so then what's another option? I can call HR myself. I could ask for an informational interview. I could say, could I intern for you for free? I could say, I'm a graphic designer. I just want to give you 8-10 hours a week for free to get in the door. Like, those are all options to get you to the objective that you stated, but this company's not hiring. Doesn't mean you won't end up getting a gig.
So create your opportunity.
Got to create it. You got to believe in it. You got to create it. And the ultimate thing, man, for me, that drives me, and it probably drives you as well, is like knowing who you're fighting for.
Absolutely.
If a lot of people call it their why, the why is cool, but to me, it's like go deeper than that, because I really want to know, why are you fighting for somebody? So who loses if I don't show up? Like that's the ultimate question for me to come back to center. Oh, entrepreneurs and creators of color lose if I don't show up. Like if I don't give them some advice, or if I don't share this experience, or if I don't share when we hit rock bottom, or if I don't share when we went through being broke and my mother-in-law was paying for our groceries. Like if I don't share these things, other people lose out in the ability to get transparency, momentum, information, and advice that can help them not go through the same problems we went through. So I'm fighting for the entrepreneurs and the creators, and that's what gets me up every single day. Because it's like, yeah, what are we doing today to help them?
Yes, sir, man. I really appreciate you for fighting, because you fighting has inspired me to fight. You know, I could see another person, person of color who has 2 Emmys, knowing that they started from nothing, knowing that they didn't have it all figured out, but they kept going, they kept moving, they created their own opportunities, man. So I appreciate you for fighting. That allows me to keep fighting, and everybody that listens to keep fighting as well, man. We appreciate you, man. For real.
Yeah, man. And you know, it's funny. I know you're trying to end this joint, but
no,
you made
it's
me
all
think.
Good, man. It's all good.
You mentioned earlier, like, was going after an Emmy like the thing? And I think this is an important note that you brought up.
Yes, sir.
When we were first doing the show, we were still trying to figure out what the show was going. Like, we knew it was going to be an interview show. We knew it was going to be with entrepreneurs. We knew it was going to be, you know, passion and all this stuff, right? But we didn't really know like what we were going for in terms of how it was going to look and feel. We just knew we wanted to have these conversations. And at one point, I had printed out the rules and guidelines for submitting for an Emmy. This is before we even shot the first episode. I remember, I'll never forget it, because I went into the conference room and there was people around the conference room, it was like 5 or 6 of us. And I had printed out copies, and the joint's like this thick. Yeah. And I said, I don't know what we're getting ready to do, but I know that if we do the best job that we think we can bring to this idea, we're going to submit for an Emmy. I said, we're not doing the show for an Emmy. We're doing this show to impact people's lives. But if we're going to go ahead and do this show, let's bring our best as if it's Emmy worthy. Yes, so I really, at that moment, I was just trying to psych people up. Like, I I wasn't really believing I was gonna get an Emmy. It was all for me. It was all like I was psyching the crew up. I was just trying to get everybody amped. Like, yeah, we gonna do the best we can. This dude think we gonna go for an Emmy. Like, we gonna do the best we can. I was just trying to get the team and the group fired up.
But the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and fake. So what you did was you created that reality for yourself, and then you won and you did it.
Yo, you hit it right there. You put the affirmation and the intention into the space. Once I could have just used it as a tactic and never filled it out.
Yeah.
If I would have never filled it out, then it would have just been a marketing scheme, right? It would have just been a psychological, a Jedi mind trick I was trying to do to my staff, my team.
Right.
No, but I believe like, no, we're gonna fill this out. Like we're gonna fill it out. But I was doing it like, yeah, I'm hyping y'all up, but we filling this out because like, why are we doing this if we're not gonna shoot our best shot anyway? And it was just crazy, man. We got nominated for 2 in the first season. One was for me as a host, and then the other one was for the actual production of the show. And when the host category was getting announced, and my face is up there with these other hosts, and they didn't say my name. I actually breathed a sigh of relief because the other category for the show hadn't been called yet. And I was breathing a sigh of relief because I actually didn't want to personally win for me as the host and then the show potentially lose. I would have much rather that the show and the team be able to get Emmys as well and me lose. And it was just that energy, man. And that just taught me a lot of like, making sure that we keep our egos in check, making sure that we do things that are bigger than us and not about us. And it paid. I was so happy. The first thing I say when you see me walking up to get the award, I was like, "It's for the team. It was for the team," because I was so happy that I lost personally, but the team won.
It was like most interactive. I believe it was like most interactive show.
Yeah, most interactive show. That's right. Yep, most interactive show, man. And
did you cry?
Yeah. Tears of joy, man. Tears of joy was definitely it was a lot of because the anticipation. You're sitting in that auditorium or that ballroom, and you got a table full of 10 people, and we had another table full of 10 people, so it was like 20 of us, all showing up, and you're there for like 3.5 hours. It's a long process, like 4 hours. It's a long process to go through all these categories. You can't just roll in on your category and be like, all right, we here. You sit through the whole thing. And so there's a lot of pent up angst that happens, man. So when it happened, I literally shot up out the chair, man. I was running around the table, like dapping everybody.
We did it.
I saw my dad, man, and my mom, and I think that's when the tears just started coming. I was just like holding them, and then I just wanted to rush up to that stage as fast as I could because I didn't want to get played. I didn't want the music to play me off. I was like, I felt like Outkast, like we got something to say, and I wanted to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's amazing, bro. I can't. Man, that's a beautiful experience, man. I wish that experience for like every creator, every entrepreneur who wants that. That wants that Emmy or that whatever it is.
Yeah, the Oscar, the Grammy, or a certificate, or Webby, or anything in your industry that just, that your peers validated you, not the audience, not a consumer, like other peers respected your art form. And, yeah, man, it's a great feeling.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate that story, man. Can you hold it up one more time, the Emmy, man? So I can just see it.
Yeah,
I don't have to visualize
I don't know what the second one. I don't know. The second one's downstairs. We don't normally have them as bookends.
Keep one in different rooms.
But we just did a photo shoot the other day, and I was taking it with me on the photo shoot, so it's still downstairs.
Absolutely, man. But Mario, man, it was a pleasure. I know you have a busy day ahead of you. I'm just grateful for your time and energy, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the lessons, all the gems, all the experiences. And one last time for anybody that wants to tap into your platform or your mentorship, where can they find you?
Yeah, man, at Mario Armstrong on Instagram. DM me, tell me that you heard me here, and I'm always available and accessible. I'll hit you back. Just give me a day or two, but I'll definitely hit you back. And Never Settle Academy for those of you that are looking to level up your sponsorship life.
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely looking to level up. So don't be surprised if you see me in there soon.
All right, man. Well, your family at this point, so we'll take good care of you.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. I hope you
Yeah,
have a
man.
great day.
Likewise. I appreciate the interview. Appreciate your time and the professionalism and the questions, man. You're killing it. Now you're on episode 54. Let's go.